Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this one, we are diving into a topic from cell signaling, and we are talking about cyclic AMP mediated GPCR signaling. Now, to give you a little bit of overview about GPCR, GPCR stands for G protein coupled receptor. So as the name suggests, it is a receptor that is coupled to a protein which is called the G protein. And this stands for GTPase protein. That is, the protein that we're talking about has the ability to hydrolyze GTP on its own. Now, talking about the structure of GPCR, the GPCR protein, it is first of all a 7 alpha helical transmembrane protein. So it has got 7 alpha helical domains. Now, if I draw it, it would be something like, if I start over here, then this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And let's denote the cell membrane just to have clarity. Now, all these domains that are embedded inside the cell membrane, these are all alpha helical domains. These are all alpha helical domains. So it has got this receptor on the N terminal, which is on the outside. And let's say this is the inside of the cell. So it has got the receptor on the N terminal, which is present outside the cell extracellularly. And it has got the C terminal over here, which is interacting with the G protein. So this is the G protein, let's say, and this C terminal is interacting with the G protein. Now, if I draw the G protein a little bit in details, then it is something like this. The G protein has got 3 subunits. So it has got a alpha subunit, a beta subunit, and a gamma subunit. Alpha, beta, and gamma. And since it has got 3 different subunits, it is a heterotrimeric protein. And the G protein is bound to the cell membrane by the alpha and the gamma subunit. Now, when there is the signal molecule present on the outside and it is being received by the receptor on the N terminal of the extracellular domain of the GPCR, then there is a conformational change in the whole GPCR, and it triggers the C terminal to interact with the alpha subunit and perform and relay the signal onto the G protein. So over here also, this is also the alpha helical domain, and once it is interacting with the alpha, it is transducing the signal to the G protein. The beta, gamma, these 2 subunits, they dissociate from the alpha subunit, and the alpha subunit goes on to activate another protein which is present on the cell membrane, embedded to the cell membrane, called Adenylate cyclase. So the alpha subunit, once it is activated, it goes to the Adenylate cyclase to activate the Adenylate cyclase. Basically, what happens is when the C terminal of the G protein coupled receptor, it is giving the signal to the alpha subunit. Initially, in its inactive state, the alpha subunit is bound to GDP. Now, once the signal is received, then this GDP is hydrolyzed. I mean, not hydrolyzed, it is replaced. It is replaced by GTP. Now, in its GTP bound state, the alpha subunit will dissociate from the beta gamma subunit, and it will go on to activate the adenylate cyclase, the enzyme that is present on embedded onto the cell membrane. Now, once the adenylate cyclase it is activated, what it does, it has the ability to take up ATP from the cytosol and convert ATP into cyclic AMP. So this is the work of adenylate cyclase. It is cyclizing the ATP that is present in the cytosol. Now the cyclic AMP, this is considered as a secondary messenger. So the primary messenger was the signaling molecule that came and hopped onto the G protein coupled receptor, and the secondary messenger is the cyclic AMP. Now, once cyclic AMP is formed, cyclic AMP goes and it activates a protein called protein kinase A. If I draw the structure of protein kinase A, it is having 2 catalytic subunits and 2 regulatory subunits. So let's denote the regulatory subunits with the R, and 2 catalytic subunit. So basically the regulatory subunits, these are present to hold the catalytic subunit and prevent the catalytic subunit from doing its function. But once cyclic AMP comes in, and note that you need 4 cyclic AMPs to bind to the regulatory subunit to make the catalytic subunit dissociate from the regulatory subunit. So as the cyclic AMP comes in and bind to the regulatory subunit, there is a change in conformation, and the protein kinase A, or pKa, it dissociates its catalytic subunit, and these catalytic subunit, they go on to do further signaling. So the catalytic subunit, it has got a lot of potential transducing ability, and one of the potential transducing ability is the signaling that occurs in glycogen breakdown. So let me do it over here. So let's say this is the catalytic subunit, and after it is being activated by cyclic AMP, what it does, first of all, it will activate a protein called phosphorylase kinase. And on the other hand, it is going to inactivate, let's keep the inactivated sign like this, it's going to inactivate the protein that is glycogen synthase. So this is the enzyme that is required in the formation of glycogen. So it is inhibiting the formation of glycogen, and it is inducing the activation of phosphorylase kinase. Now once phosphorylase kinase is activated, it goes on to activate another enzyme which is called glycogen phosphorylase. So this glycogen phosphorylase, once it is activated, what it does, it phosphorylates the glucose units that are present on glycogens, and those glucose units are converted to glucose 1-phosphate, and hence the glycogen sort of slowly breaks down into glucose 1-phosphate, which in turn goes to form glucose 6-phosphate, and it is fed into the process of glycolysis. So when the body is in requirement of energy and it needs to perform the glycolysis pathway, it will go through, there would be some signaling molecule, and this is, most of the time, this is epinephrine, which is a hormone which signals this whole thing. And once the catalytic subunit is activated, it is going to induce the breakdown of glycogen, and hence glucose 1-phosphate will be formed, which converts into glucose 6-phosphate, and it is fed into the process of glycolysis, which will go on to produce ATP inside the cell. Now, this catalytic subunit of the pKa, it has some other functions as well. It can act as activator of certain transcription factors. So once it is again activated, so the catalytic subunits, they dissociate from the regulatory subunit of protein kinase A, and it goes on inside the nucleus. Let's say this is the nucleus. It is going to go inside the nucleus, the catalytic subunit, and it is going to bind. Let's draw the DNA over here. Let's say this is the DNA, and the DNA has got certain regions. It has got certain regions which are referred to as CRE, cyclic AMP response element. So these sites are referred to as cyclic AMP response element. Now these CRE, they are bound by certain proteins which are called CREB. So cyclic AMP response element binding proteins. But these CREB, they are bound to the CRE and are in inactive state. So once the catalytic subunit, they get activated, they come inside the nucleus and they activate the CREB protein, or the cyclic AMP response element binding protein. That sort of changes their conformation, and that triggers the transcription of certain genes that are related to the cyclic AMP signaling. So this is another function of the pKa, or the cyclic AMP related signaling. So the first, we saw that these catalytic subunit of the pKa, they are inducing the formation of glucose 1-phosphate, or the breakdown of glycogen, and that is being fed into the glycolysis through glucose 6-phosphate. And the second one is they are activating certain transcription factors which are critical to the cell functioning. So that was it about cyclic AMP mediated GPCR signaling. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who would need to watch it. And here I would put some other playlists and videos, and you can check out the ones that you like. And I would recommend watching the Biology with Python series, which I did a couple of days back. And until the next time.